Will Lionel Messi feature in his 6th World Cup?
I don't know why this has been a question, but for some reason it's been lingering for so long. If I'm reading between the lines, there's something there. Perhaps some brand deal or something to do with an announcement. I don't know, because I don't, but it's strange that a figure as large as Messi were so close to the World Cup, playing in every single friendlies, and his participation is in doubt. Could you imagine the knock-on effect, the psychological fallout from this squad if Messi, all of a sudden, goes, you know what, guys, I'm not going to play at the World Cup. He understands that, and I don't think he would do that to this national team. If he didn't want to play in the World Cup, and he knew that from before, maybe a year ago he would have announced, hey, I'm not going to play, so he doesn't need to travel to all of these friendlies and whatnot. He got emotional in Argentina's last friendly, knowing it was his last friendly in Argentina before potentially a World Cup. I don't have that much doubt that Messi is going to play, although quite literally, yes, we don't know for certain if he's going to play or not. But Claudia, I think there's something there that we should read between the lines.
It feels like there would be a lot of motivation for him to want to play. Alongside Ronaldo, he would also be playing in his 6th World Cup. He's
Correct.
3 goals shy from tying
and that would be
goals.
Record at the Men's World Cup for most World Cups played at, by the way. Those 6 World Cups for both Ronaldo and Messi.
I think I said, so 3 goals to tie the most goals scored in a World Cup.
In World Cups. Most goals scored at World Cups, which is Miroslav Klose. He is 3 goals away from tying that 4 from surpassing. Mbappe is not too far behind, by the way.
And then potentially going back-to-back, which hasn't been done since Brazil did it a long time ago. There's a lot of motivation for him to
definitely.
This one.
Shout out, by the way, to Just Fontaine, 1958. These 13 goals all came in 1 World Cup. So pretty epic. Yes, of course, why not? If you can win another World Cup, could you imagine Argentina goes Copa America, World Cup, Copa America, World Cup? You have to say, in international football, that is the best run in the history of the sport. I don't think there's been, maybe Brazil 58, 62. We haven't seen a repeat since. Like, it is very difficult to go back-to-back.
When you look at the manager that's leading them, Lionel Scaloni, this could potentially be his last World Cup. He's been linked to other teams after everything is said and done at this summer's World Tournament, potentially to Real Madrid. That's been some of the links. What do you make of that?
Perhaps. We don't know. What we do know is that Lionel Scaloni is with the Argentine national team now, and he's committed to the job. Again, as a reminder, this is his first ever professional coaching job. He took the job when nobody wanted. He was questioned massively because there were questions about Argentina, and he found his way back. And I think his greatest virtue is his management and his rhetoric. Management in the way that he manages the group of players, constantly recycles them, and keeps that motivation fresh. Enzo Fernandez at the World Cup, before the World Cup, and he was a massive star in 2022, he had 3 caps with the national team. He benched Paredes, put in Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez ended up scoring the goal against Mexico when Argentina were in a must-win situation after losing the first game against Saudi Arabia. And that's all credit to Scaloni. Taking out a player like Paredes from the group, it could have broken and shattered the group, especially coming up after that loss. But what he managed is to keep the harmony. And then the way he speaks. Argentina's this goon squad, a bunch of guys that have a lot of swagger. But when he speaks in press conferences and the messages that he sends, he is so even-keeled, he is so respectful, he is such a gentleman. He doesn't say too much, he doesn't say too little. He says just right. And there's belief in the message that he preaches to the country, in media, in public opinion, and most importantly, inside to the group. So
now that we're getting to this World Cup with Argentina having won the last one, it felt like the motivation was always, let's get Messi to win a World Cup. Well, they've finally done it. So what's the motivation coming into this year's World Cup?
Yeah, it's, I guess, to win another World Cup. Imagine if you're a select group of players that has won 2 World Cups back-to-back. But it is difficult from a motivation perspective, like you say, because, yes, this team has won Copa America, World Cup, Copa America. A lot of these players, like, look at Julian Alvarez. He's won everything there is to win in a career. Copa Libertadores, Champions League, Club World Cup, like, everything is checked off at such a young age. So how do you keep that fresh? I think there are a couple of players, and again, back to what Scaloni has done right, is that he has found a couple of guys like a Nico Paz, Giuliano Simeone, Valentin Barco, Franco Mastantuono, these guys haven't won anything with Argentina. Not a Copa America, obviously not a World Cup. And Giuliano Simeone, for example, can play a massive role with Argentina at the World Cup. I think he's a very different type of player, very vertical, incisive, and you saw it against Brazil in World Cup qualifiers. He scores against Brazil. So keeping that fire within the group, Nico Paz, who's so talented. We mentioned Valentin Barco, who's so crafty and creative, kind of like that maverick that you want to have within your team. I think there's something extra that Scaloni has been able to keep alive within this group. And then when you have, obviously, if you have Messi as a motivating factor to be on your team, just it helps you take your game to the next level along with the togetherness of the group.
Well, there's a lot of players on this team that have the experience of playing in World Cups, of winning. Like you just highlighted, there's some who haven't won yet, some still young guys. So does it not worry you coming into this World Cup that the friendlies that Argentina had lined up weren't really the toughest competition, especially when you look at Brazil just took on France. You have nobody look at Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico doesn't count. Don't look at the results of this one. It was incredible though for Puerto Rico to play Argentina, but that's not these aren't the countries that you want to test yourself against when you're trying to go back to back.
Yeah, right. No disrespect to Zambia, Mauritania, Angola. Argentina hasn't tested themselves against the best teams in the world, and that is a worry. And that falls on the federation. Obviously, the finalissima against Spain was supposed to be somewhere in here, and that had its fallout because of the war happening in the region of the Middle East. So they couldn't play that game in Qatar. Argentina and Spain couldn't come to an agreement, and that was kind of supposed to be Argentina's test, to be like, this is where we're at with the rest of the powers of the world 3.5 years post our World Cup triumph. And I think there is a certain disconnect between the group and these friendlies that they have to travel all the way to Buenos Aires to play. They were supposed to be to go to Qatar, only like 6 hours away from Europe. Now they're traveling halfway around the globe to play these games in Buenos Aires, in La Bombonera. There must be some frustration within the group. But those cracks aren't that evident. There was one moment, Dibu Martinez, the goalkeeper, who's not shy ever of giving his opinion, opened the door a little bit to that discontent. And after the friendly, I think it was against Zambia, they asked him this very same question, Claudia. And he said, yeah, how do we know where we're at if we're playing against Mauritania and Zambia? It's ridiculous. We should be playing against better teams. And I think that was a direct shot at the president of the FA, Claudio Chiquitapia, that really has been running this more as a business rather than just keep on developing the national team. He is guarded. It's almost like the bulletproof vest to all the questions that go towards the president of the FA is the national team. They won the World Cup. He has kind of taken Messi, taken De Paul. And how can you go after Chiquitapia if he's got De Paul and Messi on either side of him? Perhaps an early elimination, if Argentina is to go out early at the World Cup, maybe we will start seeing a little bit more cracks. Because on the national team perspective, it feels like with the senior Argentine men's team, you can't tell Chiquitapia anything. But then you look at these friendlies. You look at the disaster that is the Argentine league, that nobody knows what format it is. It's constantly changing. He is the owner of a team within the Argentine First Division. It is such a carnival. It is a circus that any FA probably would have ousted him already. But he is protected by this national team. And these friendlies are just a small inkling of all of the behind-the-scenes mess that is going on. And I have a hunch that if Argentina goes out early,
it'll be because they didn't set themselves up.
It could be the first steps to a lot of cracks at the federation that have been, it's been held up a lot.
Wow. You mentioned that the finalissima being canceled, which even that, just having one game on the schedule wouldn't have felt like enough going into the World Cup. But let's take a look at the projected starting lineup for Argentina. We broke it.
There we are.
So taking a look, especially though at the midfield, do you think that this is how Scaloni will play it? Or is there anybody that you think maybe he could sub in or out? Or do you like the way that it's set right now?
No, definitely. I think this is going to be the starting midfield for Argentina. It's going to be a very fluid three, obviously. The question is, De Paul is on the bench. You see him there because his form with Inter Miami has been so poor. A lot of these guys, you talk about motivation, they won the World Cup and they came back to either Argentina, Major League Soccer. Leandro Paredes went back to Argentina. He's playing so well at such a high level for Boca. He was the MVP of the most recent Superclásico. And in Argentina, they have an eye on how sharp he's been able to stay. Claudia, he is miles above the rest of the players in Argentina. So I do expect him to start. He hasn't really dropped off since he's left Europe. Messi is another one. Messi has been so sharp. So this is probably the starting lineup. We have questions about Otamendi and if he is going to still be suspended. He was sent off in Argentina's last game. But if Ronaldo got a red in their last World Cup qualifying and he was pardoned, why wouldn't Otamendi be pardoned? And by the way, it was just a normal tackle. Cristiano Ronaldo got sent off for violent aggression. Anyway, the natural replacement would be Lisandro Martinez, who's been dealing with injury. He's going to be a game-time decision. He's going to be just right there at the World Cup. In fact, Lisandro Martinez next to Cuti Romero, they were the starting center-back pairing that won Copa America this last time out, the one here in the United States. So, sure, there are some questions, perhaps on the right back. If it's not Molina, it's going to be Montiel. Same as last World Cup, Tagliafico was also the left back. Nico Gonzalez hasn't shown top quality at Atletico Madrid. I have a little bit more faith in what they call in Latin America the revolutionary players off of the bench, like a Giuliano Simeone, potentially like a Nico Paz. So Valentin Barco. Yeah. We'll see how Argentina ends up doing at the World Cup.
I think we can definitely say they'll at least make it out of the group stage, right? With
all due respect, yes, they should top the group with Algeria, Austria, Jordan. Yeah.
Well, so let's take a look at the odds. Do you agree with these odds here? I mean, realistically, with everything that we've been talking about, how far do you think that they'll make it?
If I had to say, like, my pick, everyone is asking me who's my pick. My heart obviously says Argentina. I think my mind says England. I think England is very good, and like all Argentinians watching are going to think I'm a traitor. Of course, I want Argentina to win the World Cup. Very difficult to go back-to-back. The expectation in Argentina is that they will go back-to-back. Imagine if you're 15 years old in Argentina. You've never seen them lose. You don't remember Argentina, the Argentina that I remember growing up. This Argentina is the best team of all time. Copa America, World Cup, Copa America. They haven't lost in God knows how long. Of course you walk with a certain swagger. You think you can win the World Cup. That's national opinion. The idea behind this national team in Argentina is that they're going to go back-to-back. This is what they're shooting for. It's very difficult to win a World Cup, especially with an extra knockout stage game in the mix. I think anything quarterfinals and less would be deemed a failure in Argentina. If this team goes Copa America, World Cup, Copa America, semifinal of a World Cup, I think it's, to a certain extent, acceptable. Okay. But putting yourself in a position to play a final and win a World Cup is like almost bare minimum, really, for Argentina.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.